Well, welcome to another bourbon hunt. We're in the BRU because it's kind of chilly outside, and we're headed to Everest Spirits and Wine Warehouse. It's a new store in an old location, so let's get going. Well, welcome to Everest Spirits Warehouse. We've been invited in to do a bourbon hunt, so let's go inside. Well, as soon as you come in, you see it's a pretty big beverage store. Now the wines and the beers are on the left, so when you come in, head to your right, and you'll see right away the signs for Bullet and Bourbon, and their display case where they have their allocated and hard to find whiskeys. So let's first go down this bourbon walk down here, and it's from here all the way down to the end, so quite a huge selection, and that's not all they have. So the top shelf, like a lot of bottle shops, is the overflow, is things that don't fit on the bottom, so we'll stay with these first three rows and see what they got. All right. If you're a Bullet fan, they've got quite a bit. Now, I'm probably most interested in this. I've heard that that is pretty good. The 10-year is supposed to be good too, but I need to try this one. I'm interested in this one. And of course, you can't go wrong with the Larceny Barrel Proof. It's my favorite Larceny. This is the A124. And look here, you've got, for the regular Larceny, if you're a fan, they've got an ice mold that comes with it, and $23.99. You can't beat that. And Maker's Mark, you know, I still have not tried the 101, but you know, the cask of whiskey, which is typically around 110, is such a favorite of mine. I never go beyond. I'm either drinking this or one of the private selections. We're down here. We've got our Wild Turkeys, Rare Breed, Russells, and Kentucky Spirit. Kentucky Spirit is my favorite Wild Turkey. Old Forester, 1897 is my favorite Old Forester. And 1910 and 1920. Wow, both of those under $60. That's a good price. And on the bottom here, we've got our Old Crow, not a fan, 10 High, Kentucky Gold, and Early Times Whiskey, not the bourbon. And then if you're a fan of Jack Daniels, and I've become more of a fan, especially their single barrel select and their barrel proofs, and of course, I've recently been turned on to their rye whiskey, which I actually like. Here's your Jack Daniel offering, Gentleman Jack. And we get into our Woodfords here. And always one of the best values in the planet is the Woodford Reserve Double Oak, $55. More Jack Daniels on the bottom here. And this Winter Jack, Spiced Apple Punch. Sounds interesting. Not a fan really of flavored bourbons for the most part, but sounds interesting. Our Old Granddad 114, which I'm told is sticking around. It's the Old Tub that people confuse that with. Old Tub is going away. I've heard that from actually somebody official. And coming down here, we got our Knob Creeks, and oh look, the smoked maple has sold out. That's a surprise to me. Knob Creek 9, can't go wrong with that. Big fan of the Knob Creek 12. If you see the Knob Creek 12 on your shelf at a bottle shop, you should buy it. Especially if it's in the $60 range. It's an absolute top shelf bourbon for $60. And for $30, you just can't beat this Jim Beam 7. And look, I would probably just go and buy for the gigantic one. Look. We've got more Jim Beam on the bottom, some of the flavored. And we get into the Evan Williams flavored. And more Evan Williams on top here. Still a great value for the money. Look, $19.99. That is a good bottled and bond bourbon. And if you're a fan of Baker 7, there's Baker 7. This one is 8 years, 11 months. That's pretty good. That's almost a 9-year bourbon, single barrel for $66. Our Four Roses. I'm actually, if you asked me, you said, well, Mike, if you wanted to pick one Four Roses on here, which one would it be? It would be the Small Batch Select. I like that the best. And it's all because this single barrel here, I believe, is the OBSK. And it's one of those 10 recipes. And just not a big fan of the OBSK. I like the E series, which is a lower rye. And, I've heard good things about this Camp Stock wheat whiskey. I've never tried it, but I have heard good things about it. Not a fan of the aged 6-year bourbon. I actually gave away that one. But I heard that this is pretty good stuff, the Camp Stock. I have a friend that loves that. And down here we got our Foolproof 1792, which is probably my second or third favorite 1792. I actually like the bottled and bond, I think a little better. And of course my favorite's a sweet wheat. And we got some other whiskeys down here, Southern Comfort, Jesse James, Quarter Horse, Cooper's Mark. I have another good friend who tells me if you're going to go with Redemption, and I'm a fan of the wheated bourbon, but if you're going to go with their regular rye bourbon, try this Blue Label high rye bourbon. They say it's really good. Coming up here, we got our Heaven's Door, our Jefferson's. I've not found a Jefferson's really that I like yet, but, I've not tried a lot of them, so that's really my fault. And here's one I'm not familiar with. Three Keys Distillery. It's a Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey, small batch, for under $50. There's the Mary Dowling and the Willet. And look, nice selection of the Pursuit United. I'm a big fan of Pursuit United. We got some Broken Barrel. And look, that's a nice, you usually don't see a big selection of Southern Star in a lot of shops. And we got the straight bourbon whiskey. We got the cast strength. We got the regular wheated. We got a double rye and a high rye straight bourbon. I've not seen this one before. That's a new label, new one for me, $42.99. Bower Hill. I've got the, the special release that I like? I've not tried these others. And I've heard that the Bespoken is pretty good. I've yet to try it. Sagamore. Well, Sagamore's got a lot of fans. Down here on the bottom. Well, you can't go wrong with any of the Green Rivers. There's Redwood Empire. And Old Overholt. I understand that rye whiskey guys like that, and it is really an inexpensive rye. Bourbon 30. I've seen that a couple places now. Rebel. Stranahan's single malt. This is their Solera finish. I've seen that a few places. Now, what I really like is when they, the other Stranahan's, they put a jigger. Well, I say a jigger. Something you can actually drink off of. It's like a stainless steel jigger they put on the top of that. It makes it like the tallest bottle on the shelf. There's your High West. Chattanooga. Now, Chattanooga, I'm kind of hitting this with, I like the Cask 111. I like the bottled bond, okay. But my favorite still is the Founders Edition. This is the 12th, which is a little better than the 11th. But the 11th is good too. So if you find the 11th or the 12th, and you can get it under $70, it really is an excellent, it's a blend, but it really is delicious. I've heard good things about I.W. Harper. Although that is a Cabernet cask. I'm not a Cabernet guy. Templeton. Got some Bourbon Brothers on the bottom. And some other. Johnny Drum. And Bibb and Tucker. Bibb and Tucker is, I think, is an underrated. It's a little pricey, but I actually like, especially the 10-year. I think the 10-year is delicious. There's your Wyoming whiskey for your Wyoming fans. And we're into some flavored whiskeys now. All right, let's head over to a few of the end caps. Oh, the Watershed. Either one of those are good, good bourbons. Oh, look here, Joseph Magnus. This is their whiskey finished in sherry and cognac casks. It's a pretty good price. And Angel's Envy. They've got a whole display here of Angel's Envy, if you're an Angel's Envy fan. I actually like their rye better than their whiskey, believe it or not. And we got some Fiddler over here. And more Whistle Pig. Down here on one of the end caps, let's see what we got. We got a combination of different malt whiskeys and Japanese whiskeys, but look here. The Old Fourth Distillery Double Cask. I heard that is excellent. I've not tried it yet. I'm a fan of their bottled and bond. And what do they have there? That's a different, oh, that's a 10-year. Nice. And I'm a big fan of this one. And that's a great price. Not tried the rye yet. Legends, some brands I'm not familiar with, some Lazy Guy. That's a funny name for a bourbon company, isn't it? And Fiddler, nice selection of Fiddler. I'm a big fan of the chin music. Soloist is okay. I actually like the Unison better than the Soloist Blue. Now the Unison is a blend. Big fan of the Short Barrel Toasted. I've tried the rye and just I'm really hitting this with rye, guys. You know I am. I've got 2 ryes. That's all I've got. In 300 bottles, 300 plus bottles, only 2 of my bottles are a rye. That kind of tells you all you need to know, right? Okay, and they're kind of select out where they pulled off a few. We see a nice selection of Smoke Wagon there. Yeah, quite a few. Wow. And a decent selection of Penelope too, look. Toasted Barrel Strength Architect Rosé Cask. The regular Penelope. And is that their toasted rye? No, this is their bourbon. Their toasted rye, here it is. That's the other rye I have. That is really a very good rye whiskey. A little bit on the sweeter side, not as spicy as a lot of the ryes, and maybe that's why I like it. And look, New Riff, big fan of New Riffle. I would buy, well, I haven't tried their rye yet. So their single barrel and their bottled and bond are both excellent bourbons. I've got some of them, well, I don't have 2 of these, but I've got at least 2 of these. Old Elk. To me, I'm still, their regular, now this is their 8-year, which I haven't tried yet, but their regular wheated bourbon, other than maybe their cigar cut, is a favorite. I always go back to this wheated bourbon and saying, man, I just really like their regular wheated bourbon. And look down here. Here's some allocated stuff. We got an Eagle Rare, Buffalo Trace. I think it's just the regular Buffalo Trace, not the single barrel. And Traveler. The Buffalo Trace and Eagle Rare is 1 per customer. And here's our Bardstown. There's our favorite Origin Series High Wheat. Look, $48.99. That's an excellent price. Uncle Nearest. Actually, believe it or not, this 1884 is quite good. I've not tried this one yet. Red Lines. I'm kind of hit and miss on the red lines. Some of the red lines I like, some not so much. James E. Pepper Decanter. I tell you, that's a must for your bar. And it's not because the bottle's beautiful. The bourbon is beautiful too. We got some Peerless here. Elijah Craig Toasted. Now, I would tell you that the Toasted is probably my favorite of the regular Elijah Craig. Then past that, if you can get a single barrel of the Elijah Craig, the 94, not the hazmat. I like the single barrel in the Elijah Craig too. And here's more Pursuit United. I'm a big fan of the bourbon finished in American and French oak. Okay, on another end cap here, look, those are huge bottles of Knob Creek 9. Basil Hayden, for you Basil Hayden fans. Oh. There's a regular, 38 bucks. Knob Creek 9 is a good bourbon for just about anything. It's not my favorite, but it is a good bourbon, and 38 bucks, that's hard to pass up. Now, although I'm not a big rye fan, I want to try this. Well, right on it says notes of caramel, notes of vanilla, caramel, and pepper. 113 proof. That's in my wheelhouse, guy. Baby Jane, it's okay, but I think it's maybe about $10 overpriced. Good things about the Horse Soldier, and I've seen this popping up in places. World Whiskey Society, which I have a bottle. I guess if you're a collector of bottles, you're going to want that Ducks Unlimited. I don't know anything about the bourbon inside. And this, we were given a bottle to try from Everest. I think they're the only ones that have this in Georgia right now, and we're going to have that real soon on the channel. It's a 12-year-old whiskey finished in tequila barrels. We're going to give it a shot, let you know how we like it. And we got some other things here, including some more overstock on the bottom. Now let's walk over to their single barrel picks, their store picks. And what do we have here? We've got an Old Elk wheated bourbon store pick. Interesting, single barrel. Wow, that sounds interesting. Old Soul. I've had Old Soul, not a big fan, but I've not had any of their cast strengths, so I'd have to leave that open. And if you like the Old Forester single barrel in a rye, there you go. Puncher's Chance. That's a good price for a single barrel. Jesse James. I actually think the Jesse James for barrel strength single barrel Tennessee whiskey is pretty good stuff. Rebels. Now I'm a fan of the reserve that they come out, which is really good, and we've done a review of that. Traverse whiskey. I think the Traverse whiskey barrel proof is really good stuff. I've heard good things about Paul Sutton, but I haven't tried it yet. But they have their own single barrel. Wow, a lot of them. So what is this? This is a Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey, aged 6 years. It's cast strength, private barrel, hand selected, small batch. So it's not finished, just a cast strength bourbon whiskey, 6 years old. All right, down here we've got some other overflow. Here's your 1792 single barrel. I think that single barrel is actually a good bump up from the small batch. Foolproof. There you go with the Old Elk. And this is the 8-year. Interesting. Old Soul. That's our single barrel pick. Okay, let's get this out of the way. If someone wants to donate this to me, I'll give you my address. So we're at the display case where they keep the allocated, hard to find stuff, the things that really you need to ask somebody about. But let's go look, see what we got. We got the Sweetened Cove. We got some of the Barrel Gray Label. You know, I've never had any of the Barrel Gray Label. I have no idea if it's any good. I've heard good things about it, but I guess the price has always kept me down. But look here. Oh my God. We got Baumburgers and Shanks. Weller Special Reserve, no biggie there. Blanton's Bourbons. Oh, set 3. You get Blanton's Bourbons, Weller Special Reserve, and Redemption Single Barrel for that one price. So you get those 3 for that price. And this Whistle Pig, I've never seen this. Well, the Boss Hoss I've seen, but this one down here, this Boss Hog, I guess that's 9, 2024. Yeah, and this is the 10. And there's your Old Forester again, and there's your Widow Jane, the Vault 15 year. And look, we got a 1792 12 year. We got some Bardstown Discoveries here, Woodford Batch Proof, Willet Purple Top. Ooh, the Little Book, Path Not Taken chapter. That sounds interesting. And Booker's. I like Booker's, but not at $100. I don't. I like it. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. There's a Sinatra and some other ones down here. There's the Widow Jane Lucky 13. Master Pick 15. Now I understand for $99 you get your money's worth on that. I've actually tasted that. It's excellent. Here's a cigar cut. That could be the last year's cigar cut. It doesn't say Punch Cut 1, I don't think, on it. That could be last year's. We got a 2XO Kiowa blend, which I actually liked. Some other whiskeys here. Kentucky Owl, Blackened, Blue Run, very old St. Nick. And there we go. If somebody wants to gift this to me, Baumburger's 108 proof, 2024 release. That's some good stuff. Shanks, I like the Shanks, but I like the Baumburgers. You know, both of them are special releases from Michter's. But the Baumburgers is my favorite so far, of anything from Michter's. And there's your Wild Turkey Triumph. Was that a Master's Keep? Yeah. And some other non-whiskeys. Thank you. Come back again. So we just got through doing our tour, our bourbon hunt in Everest Spirits Warehouse. Spirits, wine, beer, and cigars, it says. So if you're in the North Atlanta area, especially Marietta, Kennesaw, come by Everest Spirits. And it's a new store in an old place. It used to be by another name, but they came in, they restock it, they reshuffle it around. It's a whole different store than you might remember if you've been here before. So come and check out my friends at Everest Spirits Warehouse. See you next time on Bourbon Hunt. All right, so that's all on my wish list, bucket list. I want Jack Daniels in my studio.